tell a friend. Just a note off the top of the episode to let you know that today we're going to be talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And if you know anything about Mary Shelley's biography, you know that there is some discussion of infant loss and trauma related to pregnancy and birth. If that is not your jam today, if that's not what you need to hear, please take care of yourself. Skip this episode, go to one of our other ones. We're really grateful for you. Thank you for listening.
I'm Tommy Guy.
I'm Andrew Corway.
I'm Richard Vieweg.
I'm Sarah Stockdale, and this is Pagenerd. I'm so excited to talk about Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus, which is its other title. Do you guys know much about Prometheus? This is a Greek thing.
Was this the guy with the liver thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's all I know.
I had to fight him in Hades, too.
Did you win?
Yeah, lots of times. But he got me a lot of times, too. He had a cool eagle that did, threw shields at me. It's a tough fight.
Oh.
Is that the eagle that later ate his liver?
That eagle's part of his lore. So Prometheus was the Greek god that gave the humans fire, which is a big no-no, and Zeus was real pissed and nailed him to a rock and had an eagle come and peck out his liver every day, and then overnight the liver would grow back, and then they'd do it again until there was a bit of a jailbreak situation that got him out of that. But that is who Prometheus is. So this is a bit of the setup that Mary Shelley is giving us.
The liver is actually one of the few organs that can regrow.
What?
I don't know if the Greeks fully knew that, but yeah, you can regrow liver.
Gross, and also well done, ancient Greeks. Well done, knowing that.
Super cool. Yeah, I don't know if they knew that, but yeah, Prometheus, got lucky that, or unlucky, I guess, that the
Very
organ
unlucky.
that was being consumed every day would regrow.
Gross. There's a reason why I call her Mary fucking Shelley, because I am her biggest fan, and I think she is the coolest author, and I actually want to get an old school Renaissance painting of her to put up in my house because that's how much I love her. She wrote this when she was 18 years old. She wrote the very first sci-fi novel when she was 18 years old. It was published first in 1818 when she was 19. Her father was a famous political philosopher and writer and kind of an anarchist, which was cool. His name was William Godwin. And then Mary Wollstonecraft was her mother and was one of the first feminists ever and was a total badass.
A Vindication of the Rights of Women. That's her book.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
Oh,
Yeah.
She's, dope as shit.
It's her and then Simone de Beauvoir, and then it sort of takes off. She's one of the OG feminist authors.
Yeah, one of the very first. So she's a Nepo baby when it comes to just coming from a powerhouse duo of parents. But as we will see, her writing has a lot of themes of abandonment in it, and part of that has to do with her parents. She actually dedicated this book to her dad, and this book is kind of the themes of parental abandonment from a father figure are very strong in Frankenstein.
Brutal.
And dedicating that to your dad.
Yeah, not part of the subtext.
At 18, what a badass.
That's a very 18-year-old move.
That is a teenage girl thing to do.
Get his ass, Shelley.
So a little bit of background, because we've been reading a lot of very current books, and this is Frankenstein has a lot of backstory and history and lore, and we know a lot about Mary Shelley. So I can tell you a little bit about her if you're interested, because she's cool as hell.
I know nothing about her, so I'd be happy to hear anything you have to say.
I will tell you. She is the OG goth. So Mary Shelley grew up with her father. Her mother died giving birth, which there are a lot of themes of pregnancy and birth trauma in her life. She spent a lot of time at her mother's grave as a child, and it's rumored that she learned to write by tracing the letters on the tombstone. OG goth child.
Yeah, it doesn't get more of a goth origin story than that. Learning to write from a tombstone.
Yeah. By the time she wrote Frankenstein at 18, she had already lost a baby. She was pregnant at 16. She had eloped with Percy Shelley, who was another writer who was married at the time. She got pregnant by him before they were married. She had the baby, and the baby passed away within a couple of weeks of life. And then shortly after, Percy Shelley's wife, who he stepped out on, committed suicide. Gothic backstory.
And then she married him, right?
And then she married him, yeah. Percy Shelley.
And they stayed together for a long time.
A very long time. And it is rumored, and there's competing accounts of this historically, but it is rumored that he was cremated and his heart survived because he had a calcified heart. He had some stuff going on with his health.
So like it burnt up it was like the calcium in his heart. He just like dug it out of the ash pile.
Yeah, kept it.
I don't think we were as good at cremating people back then, too.
No, I don't think so. But she kept it in a silk scarf in her desk until, and it was buried with her and her son.
This chick is hardcore.
Yeah, she's cool as hell. And we'll get into a lot of the themes of Frankenstein being about childbirth and postpartum depression. And at the time, infant mortality was very high. It was 70%. And Mary Shelley had 5 pregnancies. She had 4 babies, and only one of them survived to adulthood. So she was very traumatized by the entire experience of pregnancy and childbirth and postpartum. And that comes up in the themes of Frankenstein. But she came up with the idea of Frankenstein. And this is like potentially the coolest or weirdest blunt rotation of all time. So she went to the cottage with a bunch of her friends, the lakehouse in Lake Geneva. During the summer of 1816, there had been a volcanic eruption that had covered Europe in darkness. So this was actually named the Summer of Darkness. It snowed in July. So she was kind of up in this lake house with her husband, Percy Shelley, Lord Byron, who was a poet, a like spicy bisexual poet at the time, who was like doing all sorts of, oh yeah. And her stepsister, Claire Claremont, which is her real name, who was having an affair with Lord Byron at the time.
Jesus Christ.
Like honestly, A+ blunt rotation. I'm obsessed with these folks. And then Lord Byron's doctor. And they were bored. It was dark. And they had a ghost story writing competition between the friends. And that is where Frankenstein comes out of. And also, Lord Byron's doctor, John something, poor guy, I don't think he really became that. William Polidori wrote a story that later became the Vampire, which was kind of the basis that influenced the writing of Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 80 years later. So this cottage, all these like teenagers to folks in their, early 30s.
Who are all fucking.
Who are all having affairs with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 2 of the most incredible parts of literary horror come out of this weird summer and this one ghostwriting competition.
Do you know anything about Percy? Because at the time, he was much more famous.
Oh, one interesting thing about Percy, the way that they met is because he was friends with her father and came to stay at their house.
No.
After he was, we've talked about not being able to be excommunicated from a university, but he wrote something atheist and got like really everyone pissed at him. And so he went to Mary Wollstonecraft's house at the time and hid out there when Mary was 14. And waited until she was 16 to elope with her. But we can kind of, that timeline's gross. That timeline's so gross.
Okay, hold on. Apparently also there's a rumor out there that the first time they banged, it was on her mother's grave.
Okay, so that is a very common rumor about Mary Shelley. I couldn't find it substantiated by any.
There were 2 people there, 3 if you count the dead one.
But she spent a lot of time at her mother's grave growing up. She talked to her mother a lot.
This chick would have worn so many safety pins if she was in the 90s.
And been into so much screamo. Like, yeah.
Like jeans you could like hide an elephant in.
Yep. Yeah. I love our goth queen. Our, problematic goth queen.
Problematic.
So.
And like, okay, I did a bit of reading about Percy, and there are 2 editions to this book. Mm-hmm. The original in 1818 and the second edition in 1831. My understanding is that like Percy got his hands on it and was like, I'm the famous author. So there's some edits. The book I read, which was the Norton Critical Edition, was the original. And I think scholars these days prefer that one because that's kind of that's her work. But later, Percy's like, excuse me, I am a man and I do know best.
Well, also, he got credit because she originally published it in 1818 anonymously, and everyone assumed it was him.
Like, must be him because it couldn't be the 18-year-old woman.
It's kind of a shame, too, because, like, if you read this book and you look at the themes that I know you're about to get into, Sarah, like, there's no way a man wrote this book, right? There's no fucking way. And it's like, it's fantastic in the most demented way, but there's no fucking way a man could ever come up with this.
And like, honestly, at the time of recording this, I'm 37 and I could never, like the amount of talent in Mary fucking Shelley's pinky finger, like none of us can touch it. This book is incredible, except for the beginning, which I'll open with, are letters from Robert Walton to his sister Margaret. And they are very boring. They're a terrible way to open this absolutely fantastic narrative. I find them so dry.
And completely unnecessary.
Yes, we don't need them. And it's not a long novel. There's so much there. She does so much with so few pages. But then we get these letters at the opening from this Arctic explorer, Robert Walton, who's writing to his sister Margaret. And we don't actually get into the story for like a few of the letters. We're just basically setting up that this guy's an Arctic explorer and that he's lonely is sort of the theme, which is, a theme throughout the book, but we don't give a shit about Robert. We don't care about Robert. He's kind of a narrator.
Homeboy is going north because he thinks that if you go far enough, it'll be warm again.
He's trying to get to the North Pole.
Where it will be warm.
The interesting part of these letters begins when they find Victor Frankenstein, who's stranded on the ice with what remains of his dog sled. And Walton is like such a fanboy of Victor Frankenstein almost immediately for no good reason. Like, this guy is emaciated, he's near death, and immedially Walton is like, I want to be his best friend. He seems so cool.
Mysterious stranger, come on.
Yeah.
You're not excited by that? And he like refuses to go with him unless they're going the right direction. He's like, are you going further north? And they're like, if the answer is yes, I'll get on your ship. And you're like, you're totally ruined. Why would you not get on this ship?
You're totally gonna die if we don't. We're rescuing you, bro. And you're like making sure.
Yeah. But see how he played hard to get at the front, Sarah? That's the intriguing part, right?
Oh, God, men.
But I think she did this because, like, like in modern writing and cinema, you have like in media res where you start at the middle when like action's happening. I feel like she did all of that just to show us a glimpse of the monster walking through the ice scape.
Yeah.
And be like, what the hell's going on, right? But I agree. I was like, who is Robert Walton and why does this matter, right? So
if someone with a beautiful British accent read them to me, maybe I would have liked it better than just like sitting with the book. So we get this account of an Arctic explorer, Robert Walton, who finds Victor Frankenstein stranded with a dog sled. They bring him on and he wants to nurse him back to health and befriend him. So once he's revived, Frankenstein starts to recount to Walton how he came to be on the ice. You could probably tell that I had been reading 19th century literature when I was writing out my notes because I'm catching myself like speaking like them, which is so much fun. So the story starts, Victor Frankenstein's story starts in Geneva when he's a child. He talks about his childhood as blissful. He spent it with his adopted cousin Elizabeth and his friend Henry Clerval. Victor enters the university to study natural philosophy and chemistry after his mother dies of scarlet fever, which is like a very short and extremely tragic part of the book that isn't really meditated on very much, but he's like, my Elizabeth got scarlet fever and my mom really wanted to go see her and she wasn't well yet. And she went in, she got it and died immediately after. And you're like, oh, she should have just stayed out of that room for another week or so and she would have survived. This is like a mini tragedy inside of the story that's not talked about a lot, but I think Frankenstein does have a lot of mommy issues. He's not a doctor. They never refer to him as Dr. Frankenstein. That comes later in other adaptations of the media. He's a recent college grad, not a doctor. He's not even really a scientist. I don't even know if they talk about him graduating.
This like sort of more structured sort of academic background is more of a modern thing. So he was studying what we call natural philosophy. At the time, philosophy as we know it, which is like this super abstract logic, etc., that's not what it was. Philosophy was basically everything. So when we say he's studying natural philosophy, He's basically got a gen ed degree in all things that are known and some things that are like completely batshit. So he studied whatever chemistry is available. We'll get into a little bit. He probably like made a frog leg jump. He has most of a high school education in, science.
Which is wild because what he does next is become creepily obsessed with creating life. He goes into this and he does this throughout the novel where he'll go into obsessive stupors or depressive episodes. And so we're just along for the roller coaster of his mental state. So in this mental state, he goes into kind of obsessive work mode. He collects body parts from charnel houses, which I don't know if any of you knew what that was, but it's basically just where they kept body parts after someone died, and it was usually a church basement. So he was stealing body parts from church basements, which is
really weird.
Very gothic. But also from graveyards and slaughterhouses, animal parts from slaughterhouses. And then he isolates himself in an attic, which in all of the media, it's this gorgeous gothic, it sounds like a shitty apartment attic. And it covered in blood and gore and body parts. It's incredibly gross. And he just starts building the form of a man. Yeah, he says, I collected bones from charnel houses and disturbed with profane fingers the tremendous secrets of the human frame. She wrote that at 18. It makes me so mad.
It's incredible.
So he creates a giant 8-foot-tall creature, which at the time, a really tall man was 5'9", because he says it's easier to work with parts at a larger scale.
I love that detail. I really love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like big veins, I guess.
Yeah, well, he's just if you're going to be stitching this thing together, working at tiny, minute detail, but also it gives us the excuse to be this thing is massive and strong.
Yeah. And at no part, which is so interesting and only a woman could write this, because at no part is he thinking the creature I'm creating is going to be able to overpower me. At no part is there any meditation on what he is developing and if it should exist, if it will want to live, if it's safe for it to live. He's just I'm just going to make it live, and I'm going to make it big because that's easier for me as a scientist.
I know there's been much ink spilled on this, but this is every scientific thing since. This is we can split the atom. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. I want to do it.
Yeah.
I can do this.
We can make Machine God and put the coal plants back online to do it. Fucking go. It's the same thing with a body.
18-year-old Mary Shelley.
Yeah, to call it out this early on and so well is way to go,
18-year-old Mary Shelley up in the Swiss Alps is this is how the next 200 years is going to go.
She's
she nailed it.
I pretty much just understand how dudes think about science.
Yeah. The guy just got a notion and got obsessive. Okay, so my understanding, he's sort of, because later his friend is going to come to visit. And so we learn he's basically living in 2 rooms. He's a student. I'm imagining he's in somebody's attic. Mm-hmm. One room is full of body parts, and a thing they do not yet have is formaldehyde.
I didn't think of that.
Stinks.
But Tommy, everything used to stink, bud.
This is gross. Could you imagine you take in a college student to live in your attic, and they've just got rotting meat in one room? Oh. That's what's going on.
What I'm saying is the house next door was probably a slaughterhouse that had rotting meat in it as well. And then they were dumping buckets of poop all over the sidewalks.
I mean, you're going to church and the basement's full of bodies.
Exactly.
So maybe you're hey, it smells fine here.
So gross, so gothic. He's in this crazy work stupor for 9 months, which is an interesting exact period of time that Mary Shelley has chosen for the creation of the monster. And his aims are totally narcissistic. He says, a new species would bless me as its creator and source. Many happy and excellent natures would owe their being to me. No father could claim the gratitude of his child so completely as I should deserve theirs.
All about him.
What a dick.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy.
He's creating a whole new life just for himself so he can be idolized. Incredible.
Yeah.
Was there a weird religious thing going on here?
The book doesn't have a lot of religious tenor through it, but there's definitely a playing God that Mary Shelley is giving us this man trying to, I think, 2 things: usurp the feminine, they're just gonna He's just going to try to do this without women. He's going to try to make life.
You don't need a womb.
I don't need a womb. I don't need a uterus. I don't need a woman. I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to play God.
Interesting. That totally makes sense. I was also thinking about the play God aspect of like, let's make humans so that they can worship me.
And I think a big part of this is like the only person that can make life without a woman, at least if we're looking at like kind of traditional Catholicism, is God. And so if you try to do that and you're not God, you are by definition playing God. So he's fantasizing about this big emotional payoff about creating life and not considering anything about the life he's creating. If you've seen any of the movies, you might think that the monster is called Frankenstein. The monster doesn't get a name.
I thought that until I read this book.
Yeah, and so the monster is just called the creature throughout.
Or the monster.
And there's like a lot of thought put into that by Shelley. Andrew pointed out how intentionally she names everyone and doesn't name the creature. And there's like a humanity to having a name. And so it's just called the creature. So the way he brings the creature to life is through basically electrocuting it, which is why like thunder and lightning and electricity is also a big part of this.
But he very specifically does not get into any of the like details around how it was done. And like he waves it away as like, by the end of the story, you'll understand why I don't want to tell you any details about how I created life.
Very convenient literary device.
Absolutely.
Very convenient for the writer.
How did this happen? I don't want to tell you.
No.
And you'll understand why later, but I'm not going to tell you.
I mean, let's be real. Science fiction didn't even exist at this time. So she's doing some cutting edge shit.
She's
right
making
now.
this up as she goes.
Yeah.
Well, and she was inspired by reading about and listening to Percy and Lord Byron talk about Erasmus Darwin, who is the grandfather of Charles Darwin. And I love at this period of time that like the sciences and literature they weren't in any sort of conflict or like in different departments. They were all just kind of like together.
These were all just independently wealthy men who were just like trying shit in the basement. We should talk about this. This is crazy. So I picture the world as like there's like 40 people that all know each other and all are like the sum total of science and also letters. One of them is Erasmus, and they all knew about this guy, Luigi Galvani. Okay, so he's this Italian physicist who did this famous experiment where he took a scalpel, and I think it was like connected with some wires to something else, and he touched a frog's leg, and the frog leg jumped. This is a dissected leg. So it's like, oh, weird. Like I can sort of make the thing move after it's dead. And so he decided that this was an animal electricity. And there was this theory of, well, clearly if I apply an electrical current, which had been invented like yesterday, right? If I apply this like electrical current to a frog's leg and it jumps, there must be some vital energy or animal electricity that's animating life. Like, okay, there's a seed of a thought, right? And this was a thing. But then there's this other dude named Alessandro Volta, get it like Volt, and he does some more experiments, does good science. He's like, is it the leg or is it something else? He basically figures out that it's the liquid in the leg. It's not the frog leg, it's the frog juice that's causing the leg to jump. He also goes on to invent something called the voltaic pile. You know this as the battery.
Oh.
Right. So he has a way to store electricity. Cool thing about this is now we can start to do more experiments in the lab, right? Because we can just like reliably produce current. And people are doing a lot more of these kinds of experiments. I actually don't know if he called it the voltaic pile. That'd be like me coming on me like, I built the Tommy stack. What does it do? It makes frog legs jump. But maybe somebody else named it for him. It's just weird to name things after yourself. But, you know, maybe it was different times. Okay, so the next crazy thing that happens is there's a bit of a beef, which, again, there's like 40 people doing all the science. They all know each other. They're all like wealthy and have time for beefs, right? And honestly, this has not changed. Scientists have beefs just like all the fucking time. But this beef was it the juice or the frog, basically? So Volta, he's saying it's the juice, and Luigi's nephew, Giovanni, is the guy who sort of takes up the battle. And he says, no, it's animal electricity. It's not just the juice, right? It's like part of the being or whatever. So the way he makes his case is he starts doing public demonstrations. So he's taking sheep, he's taking cows, he's getting one of these voltaic stacks, he's shocking them, they're moving. At some point, he's doing severed heads.
Nope.
Uh,
Don't like that. What?
Gothic as hell.
There were a lot
Oh
more
my
Severed heads laying
God.
around in those days. So just check any church
Charnel houses,
basement.
you go into the church, you get a head. By the way, I live, like, my backyard backs up to this like sketchy church I've never seen anybody in. I don't know what's down there. Could be bodies.
Build your own Frankenstein's monster.
Shock it to life.
She didn't give him the recipe, Rick.
Oh,
God
yeah.
damn it.
no recipe.
The recipe's online.
I'm like envisioning them. I'm envisioning them going to mass, and then at the end of mass, like, please take your complimentary body part on the way out.
We've eaten the body of Jesus, but we've got some other ones downstairs.
Yeah.
Instead of taking flowers home from the wedding, it's just a foot.
Like a finger or something. So anyway, so he's doing this, shocked. So he would shock a severed head and it would like open its eyes or grimace,
Gross.
right? Eventually another dude, like this becomes like a weird carnival show, I guess. This guy, George Foster, had been recently hung. They get the whole ass body and they do this like public demonstration at basically the medical school, right? Where they like are like shocking his legs and they're moving and his arms. And so people in the audience think they're seeing a body be reanimated. So it went from like, I'm going to shock a frog leg to people are shocking whole bodies and it looks like they move when you shock them. You can see a pretty clear line down to like Mary Shelley being like, oh yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's not completely crazy. In fact, we do this all the time now. If you have open heart surgery, right? They did this to my dad. He had like open heart surgery. They replaced a valve. So they stop your heart, right? They fix you and then they shock your heart back. So like, you know, you can't probably like stitch together the bones in the church basement, but you can totally do like, you know, shock a heart back to life. So this animating electricity thing, it's kind of back. We don't have ads yet. And so we've just decided to shout out our local libraries. This episode of Pagenerd was brought to you by the Seattle Public Library. I live in Seattle, and so I mostly think of the Seattle Public Library for its amazing neighborhood libraries. There's one in every neighborhood. You know, mine is maybe a quarter mile away, and it's got stuff for children, and it's got books, and it's got really a lot of other services. But you may know it, if you know it at all, for the downtown, like, Central Library. The cool thing about this, it's actually a spiral. So you can go from the 6th floor all the way up to the 9th floor by walking one continuously increasing spiral kind of ramp.
That's incredible.
You can basically look at the entire stacks that way. So if you're ever in Seattle, highly recommend you come and visit the building. It's beautiful. But yeah, support your local library. Mine is Seattle.
Go take out a book today.
You know what your library has? It's Frankenstein.
They do.
It's got a copy.
So he is successful. It takes Frankenstein 9 months, but he births this creature, if you can call it that, into life using this cell potential.
Nondescript process.
Yep. The recipe we don't have. And immediately hates the creature. He says that he has designed it to be beautiful. He has used beautiful, I guess, parts of corpses and animals. I don't see it, but it's Jacob Elordi in Guillermo del Toro's edition, and so he is pretty hot.
Thin black lips and like yellow skin stretched across barely containing muscles. It like has nothing to do with the Frankenstein's monster that you've seen. It like is a totally different description than anything I've ever seen on screen, which is incredible.
A really tall, hot yellow man. Yeah. There was a moment that I thought was really interesting because he says, one hand was stretched out seemingly to detain me, but I escaped. This is someone being born. They're not trying to detain you. They don't know anything. You are the only person in the room, and they're assuming probably that you're their parent. This is what a baby will do when they're first born. They'll reach for its parent. But he never feels paternal, maternal, or even responsible for the creature. He runs out of the room, immediately abandons it minutes after creating it, and then never thinks of the creature or its well-being. Like, we get a lot of Victor Frankenstein's internal monologue, and he does not give a shit. He's completely self-absorbed. The creature disappears out of the apartment.
Well, like wakes him up first. Like wakes him up to talk to him. Yeah.
Yep, stands over him, makes, some noises because the creature can't speak yet, and kind of has this immediate rejection from its creator.
Yeah, like he runs away from it and then it like tries to reach out to him again and he like is totally cold to it and it bails. Like it's wild.
Yeah. then he makes it all about him, because this is like the vibe of Victor Frankenstein. He just goes into this like depression and psychological terror. His brain
first of many fevered
fevers.
illnesses.
He has to have his friend Henry come and nurse him back to health and convince him to go back to Geneva.
This is where I'm like Henry should have locked this dude up. He walks in, Frankenstein's in I believe it's 5 or 6 month like stupor in like a bloody apartment with body parts everywhere. Like, what the fuck?
I found it like almost exhausting that he kept falling into these stupors and torpors and illnesses and fevers. Like, I think after the book's finished, he's probably like 5 years of his life just on his bed or something like that.
Yeah, he just spends months at a time in like a fever dream of being sick and nursed back to health.
This is the man-child of all man-children. And so Henry comes back, kind of nurses him back to health, and then he receives a letter from his father that his young brother William has been murdered. A note here that William was the name of Mary Shelley's first son, who died of malaria at the age of 3 in 1819, so right after the first publishing. And so some folks think that the second publishing in 1831, there's just a lot more trauma that she's experienced. So you can actually read it as a much darker story. There's less hope in the second version. And so that's, because of a lot of the experiences that she has with pregnancies and childbirth kind of in between the two publishings. So William, his young, he's described as this like beautiful blonde child who everyone loves, has been murdered. So Victor rushes home to Geneva, and while he's in the woods where William was killed, he sees the monster, and he immediately knows that the monster killed his brother. But that's not what everyone else thinks, because no one knows that this monster exists, because this guy has not told anyone what he's done. So Justine, a domestic servant who sounds lovely, is accused of killing William. And this is there's only like one moment that I'm like, there's a strong female character. Because Elizabeth and Justine and kind of all the women in the novel are mostly just victims of Victor's creation and narcissism. But there is like one moment of strength that I thought was really cool. Elizabeth pled on behalf of Justine at the trial.
Elizabeth, by the way, is the cousin that is eventually that was raised alongside Victor, but will eventually be his wife. Which is like
yay, 1900s relationships. But it was a big taboo because everyone thinks that she killed this like wonderful boy who's basically Elizabeth's close family and is a son figure to her. And she's like, no, she didn't do it. Set her free. This is bullshit. You know who doesn't do that? Victor, the guy who actually knows she's innocent for sure and knows who killed.
Yeah.
Who killed.
She's like, doesn't like trust me, but he doesn't want to explain.
And his internal monologue, like this, I pulled this quote from this period of time. So when they're talking to Justine the night before her hanging, Victor says, thus the poor sufferer tried to comfort others and herself. She indeed gained the resignation she desired. But I, the true murderer, felt the never-dying worm alive in my bosom, which allowed me no hope or consolation. He's like, don't worry, she's fine. She got her resignation. But like me, I'm still suffering. And it's like, she's getting hanged tomorrow, you insufferable asshole.
But have you thought about how he made someone come to life and then got sad about it?
Yeah, and then that person killed his brother and he just let someone else die for the crime instead of confessing.
But not because he's confessing like they'll hang me instead. It's just like, no, you don't understand. There's a murderer loose, That's all he had to do.
Yeah.
Like, no, I can't do that. I need to suffer internally.
No, and he calls himself, through this, he uses the word guiltless to describe himself so many times, and I underlined it as I was reading because it made me so mad every time I read it. Like, he really takes no responsibility for any of his actions or responsibility for his creation. And then he goes into another mental health crisis. So Justine is hanged. Victor's back in a depression. So his family kind of takes him to the mountains to, again, try to revive him. Everyone is always having to fucking nurse this guy. And then the creature finds Victor in the Alps. He doesn't attack him. He speaks. He's eloquent. He's measured. He's deeply wounded. He's extremely articulate. And he asks Victor to listen to what his life has been like. And then we get this whole part of the story that's from the creature's perspective. And this is my favorite, by far, my favorite part of the book.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is what's been going on with the creature since he disappeared from Victor Frankenstein's apartment. He woke up in a world that was extremely overwhelming. Light hurt his eyes. Sounds were scary. He was cold. He was hungry. He was scared, like an infant would be if you abandoned it immediately upon its birth. So he lives for a while in the forest, surviving off of berries and stolen food and hiding from humans. And then he finds this cottage and he kind of makes himself a hovel within the cottage to hide there. And becomes totally entranced by the family and falls in love with the family that lives in this cottage.
There's like a little hole that he can peek through, so he can like peek and hear them, and he doesn't understand anything they're saying at the beginning.
But he knew to hide. Hadn't he already been attacked once? He flees.
He's had like stones thrown at him.
Yeah.
He knows other humans aren't safe. He has had no good experiences with humans so far.
But he needs humans.
Yeah. He's very much desperate for human connection and friendship and love. And there's this kind of huge hole in him that he is trying to fill throughout the entire novel. And so he watches this family, and it's the patriarch is named DeLacy, and he's blind. The son is Felix, and the daughter is Agatha. Their backstory is cool. They were exiled from France because Felix had a plot to rescue this Turkish man who was imprisoned and then falls in love with his daughter, very Shakespearean. He gets him out of prison, and then he's double-crossed by the man he helped and gets exiled. So, we come to learn the backstory of this family. And as this is happening, Frankenstein finds and reads Paradise Lost, Plutarch Lives, and the Sorrows of Werther. So he's more well-read than most people. Yeah, and we have a reading podcast.
This guy learned. he basically can see through a hole and listen, from which he picks up French enough to read. I assume these books. These are all English books, by the way, in translation in French. I don't know if you've ever tried to read Paradise Lost. It's hard.
Yeah, that's not a good read.
No, the guy, while getting no sleep, because apparently every night he wakes up. This is really sweet. He wakes up and he goes and cuts the wood for the family, and the family just magically the woodshed's full every day. He's just doing this because he wants some affection, I think.
And he notices that they're in poverty and that this is hard for them.
Yeah, Felix has to go out and cut wood every few days. He's like, if I did that, Felix could spend more time with the family or do other chores around the house or whatever. So finds a way to contribute.
And I'm an 8-foot tall thirst trap, so I can totally do it.
Yeah, I'm Jacob Elordi. I could just rip the tree out.
Felix goes to town with all the free time and he starts to make more money. They sell things from their garden. So actually the family starts to come out of poverty because of all the acts of mercy that the creature's giving them secretly that they think is from the forest creature,
the forest spirits
or gods, and exactly, spirits.
Yeah, the creature has now a parasocial relationship with the family as well, where he knows has been watching them for ages through this crack in the wall. He sees the Turkish girl come in and understand she's speaking a different language and doesn't know what the difference between the two is. He's got this huge, cool relationship built up in his mind.
So DeLacy, the patriarch of the family, is blind, and the creature is starting to kind of build this plan up to introduce himself to DeLacy because he thinks if he's blind and he hears me before he sees me and we can, develop a relationship, then maybe he can convince everyone that I'm not the scary monster. So his timing isn't great. So he does find DeLacy alone. He does talk to him. DeLacy is kind. He's very open to him. But before they can kind of continue the conversation, Felix and Agatha return and see an 8-foot-tall, yellow-skinned monster bent over their kind of aging father and panic, as you probably would. And Felix responds with violence, tries to beat the creature, and the creature flees. The next day, they pack up and leave the cottage for fear of this creature. And the creature has been very sweet and gentle up until this point. And this is the first act of rage and violence. He destroys the cottage. He rips it to pieces. And that is the first time we see any sort of violence at all from the creature.
Yeah. Mary Shelley's so meticulous with the details of this book. obviously we've already been into so much of the subtext, but the choice of Felix, Agatha, and Safi, which is, I think, a Middle Eastern interpretation of Sophie. Felix stands for happy, Agatha for good, and Safi for pure or wise. So you can actually see like these stand-ins for those human virtues are actually rejecting him.
That's wild. I had no idea of that relationship between the names.
Mm-hmm. So the very next interaction that the creature has with humans after this kind of heartache and devastation is he sees a woman drowning and jumps in and saves her, and like does so it's like a pretty big heroic act the way that it's written in the book, and then is immediately shot by her partner as he's kind of pulling her out and saving her life. The man that she's with shoots him, and he experiences like an absolute ton of kind of pain and agony. And it's not like, even if he could access human medical care, he's not getting any. He's living in the forest. So he's had two really devastating interactions with humans where he's trying to show kindness and they respond with violence. And that's pretty much this creature's entire backstory when it comes to peopling. This poor, and like he's a toddler. Like this creature's only been on Earth for a very short period of time.
He's a well-read toddler, but yeah, he like needs humans, and all he's learned is every time I try, they reject me, and so yeah, he kind of shifts right to a bit of a psychopath.
Mm-hmm. So he's relaying this story to Victor in the lead up to his ask. So the creature asks Victor to create a female companion. He says, "You made me with the need for love. You owe me the chance to live with it."
Such a line.
Again, this woman is 18 when she's writing this. It's infuriatingly good. And he promises Victor that if he agrees, they will disappear forever. And this is the only moment we see Victor show any kind of compassion or care for the creature in his internal monologue. He seems to feel a little bit of a sense of obligation to give the creature some companionship, and he does agree to create a female mate. Around the same time, his dad is like, "Hey, you should probably marry your cousin Elizabeth by now." And so he delays the marriage by saying, "Hey, I want to go travel more," which is his guise for buying some time to create the female creature.
They're starting to think that maybe he has a lover.
Yeah.
Because he's been betrothed, since like childhood to his cousin.
They're like, "Look at this depressed man who keeps being annoying. Let's throw a woman at it to solve the problem."
Maybe a woman would help. I mean, to be fair, the monster also thinks like, what I need is to get laid.
Does he even know what that is? I think he's just lonely.
Yeah, he just. But
he
like,
does,
needs love.
he specifies.
He needs
Yes,
love.
the woman will solve the loneliness.
The woman will solve loneliness.
Victor Frankenstein could be lonelier, and I'd be fine with that. So anyway, he's buying time. He says he wants to marry his cousin. He's very excited about the idea of marrying his cousin Elizabeth, but he needs time to travel and do his thing, which is, make a female creature. Then there's just like a lot of procrastinating on this task. He talks a lot about the fact that he has to do it, and it takes him a really long time in the book to actually get started.
Well, he goes to England, purportedly to like learn from some other natural philosopher. There's some new technique. I don't know. Maybe it's how like to make a woman. And then he like travels around there. And man, trips back then were awesome because it's like, hey, I need to go to England to learn this thing. Okay, I'll be gone for 2 years. Like, what the fuck?
All right. I guess you
cool.
do you.
I guess you do that. And then, he's just like, I'll spend 6 months in like London and 3 months over here. And eventually, where does he end up? Like on an island north of Scotland?
Yep. Well, yes.
And by the way, collecting the parts along the way. This is a man whose baggage train is full of body parts.
He didn't have a cooler, Tommy. No cooler, just probably a big burlap sack.
No formaldehyde.
He's
no
just
cooler.
rolling along, being like, what's in the buggy? Parts.
And they think he's taking a lover. He's picking up legs and feet. Like, gross.
Gotta find the best ones, too.
Victor Frankenstein is very simple. He's like, what's in there? Don't look. It's going to be, I have an explanation, but you're not going to like it.
It's a uterus and a lot of toes. I have a good reason.
Do you like meat? It's kind of like meat.
So he picks up all the body parts. He starts working on the female creature. This is the part of my notes that I titled Hardcore Creature Misogyny, because as he's starting to build the female creature, he's saying to himself, she might become a 10,000 times more malignant than her mate and delight for its own sake in murder and wretchedness. And at one point, he says she might also turn with disgust from him to the superior beauty of man. And if we are thinking of an 8-foot-tall woman, the average tall man is 5'9", he's worried about maybe some sexual assaults.
But notice he's actually thinking about the fact that he's giving life to something and how it might impact him and the people around him.
He's worried that they're going to breed.
He gets to that later. He says a race of devils would be propagated on the earth, but not before he shits on women for a while first. He's like definitely more afraid of a woman.
The original monster has agreed that he's going to go to Argentina, of all places, and like live away from people. He's like, well, yeah, but like the woman might, she didn't agree to this. What if she convinces him to come back and wreak havoc in Europe?
And at no point was he like, are human women safe from the 8-foot-tall lonely man monster I've created? No, didn't seem to care about that at all. But immediately, as soon as he could be threatened, now he's very, very scared and he doesn't want to do it. And he says, and like, I want to know if any of you picked up on this, because there's not a lot of sexy language when it comes to live things in this novel. But Victor Frankenstein has a little bit of sexy language for dead things.
Well, I hate that.
He says, trembling with passion, he tore to pieces the thing on which I was engaged.
Oh, God.
And I don't know, I don't know how often you tremble with passion, but that, to me, there's a Venn diagram of sexiness. And Mary Shelley chooses her words extremely carefully, so I trust her when I read something that she wrote. So at this point, the creature shows up. He grins from the darkness. It sounds very scary. And then, Victor tears the thing to pieces, trembling with passion, creepy, gross, and vows not to make another creature. And Frankenstein is overcome by the feeling of helplessness when he sees the creature again. And the creature says to him, after he sees that he's torn it to pieces, you believe yourself miserable, but I can make you so wretched that the light of day will be hateful to you. You are my creator, but I am your master. Obey. Oh,
great line.
Full body chills. Such great writing.
This was a ghost story to be told around the fire. And like the vibe, right? You're on this island north of Scotland. It's stormy. Again, every time there's one of these like big scenes, the weather is always mentioned, right? It's always stormy. It's always lightning, all this, and all of a sudden there's the monster in the window while you're like hovering over the body you've put together, thinking about shocking it to life. And then you tear it apart. Like, just the intensity of that scene is so good.
Yeah. There's an underpinning with nature here where like nature, when he's doing these horrific acts, it's storming out. When he's chasing the monster at the beginning, it's cold. He's always discomfort. Yeah. But then, he's also like, when he does these horrific acts, he's sent into a fever. So it's like nature, I guess, is like the feminine, is always in the background, I guess, of the novel and reacting to all the horrible things that he's doing. And then also, when he's recovering, he's in nature. He goes out to nature and is loving the splendor of nature. So it's definitely an underpinning of every single scene here.
Did Mary Shelley invent the jump scare?
Yeah.
That's my read, right? Like, it's the jump scare. Like, he's in there, hovering over the body, and then there's the face in the window.
That is a jump scare. And there's a jump scare in the woods after William is murdered. Like, there's multiple jump scares in this book.
There's a lot of these just like, there's the creature.
Well, and right at the beginning, like when it's looming over him after he's like abandoned it. Yeah.
And it's the yellow watery eyes.
Yes, the watery eyes, which
so
nasty.
Yeah. So a fight ensues. Victor says that, I'm not going to do this. I'm not making you a mate. And the creature vows revenge and says, but remember, I shall be with you on your wedding night.
Dun, dun, dun. Victor doesn't seem to get it. Like later on, he's like, oh shit, I'm going to get married. And that means like he doesn't seem to get it at first.
100%. He's immediately like, oh, he's going to murder me. And all you're reading and you're like, I see where this is going.
Exactly. 100%. Immediately, I'm like, oh.
Not only did Mary Shelley invent the jump scare, she also invented the slow burn.
And like the part of the horror movie where someone runs up the stairs and you're like, you idiot.
Yeah.
We know what's going to happen to you. And there's, so much of the rest of this book is that like moment in the horror movie where you're like, well, you're fucked. We're watching it just walk behind you for the rest of this time. So Victor tries to dispose of the remains. This is the only time that we like hear of him actually like cleaning up after himself.
Yeah, good point. Takes him out to sea.
So, yeah, he doesn't want anyone to know that he's got all these female body parts, I guess.
Fair. To be fair, if I had a trunk full of female body parts, my thinking would be I should get rid of them.
Well, he says he doesn't want to freak out the peasants.
There will be questions. I cannot answer them.
He's not worried about anyone like accusing him of anything, but he just doesn't want to freak out the peasants because they wouldn't get it.
He just lays down in the boat. Like he throws the bodies over. He's like, my job's done. He lays down.
Dumps the body parts in like stupor.
Lays down in the boat. Like,
Takes
what
a
are you
nap.
doing?
Yeah. He dumps the body parts in the sea, lays down in the boat, and is blown off course because he lays down in the. Of course, he's blown off course, and then he's arrested in Ireland for murder. He
eventually washes up in
ashore.
Ireland, which is a long ways away.
And they're like, dude, we have a body and we don't know who you are, so that they're probably related. And the body is Henry Clerval, his best friend, who's been strangled to death.
Okay, why is Henry in Ireland?
He's been traveling around, so he's continued their journey.
Oh, yeah. They were romping. They were doing a romp around England.
Yeah, they were doing their Euro trip before they got married. It was basically like a bachelor party. And so Henry continued the Euro trip. And the creature had been following him, and he knew the creature had been following him because he had made the promise to make the female creature. So it makes complete sense that the creature would know where Henry's going.
Yeah.
So he shows up where Henry's going to be and strangles him. Victor's shown the body that's washed ashore, and of course he collapses again into illness and despair.
For about 2 months.
Does he get a fever this time?
Of course he does, right?
I don't think they meant like, I'm hot. I think they just meant like...
Brain fever.
And of course the Irish constable is like, well, that does not make you innocent.
We're just going to keep you locked up.
I can't look. You're guilty as fuck. Yeah.
But he definitely does have like some white rich guy privilege because his dad just shows up and then he's somehow exonerated for the crime.
He's like, I didn't do it. The creature I invented did. And the guy's like, yeah, it checks out.
Oh, why didn't you mention the creature you invented?
Maybe we could have saved Justine if you
yeah,
had
if
said
only
like
would have mentioned it sooner when somebody else's life was in peril.
That is like the whitest possible solution to the problem. Like, I didn't murder this guy. Come on.
The thing I made murdered it. It's not my fault.
I'm a man of science and natural philosophy.
I only made the thing that killed it. I didn't kill it myself.
He's guiltless again. I probably underlined the word. So his dad comes to get him, to revive him, and they're like, all right, now it's time for you to marry Elizabeth. You keep getting accused of murder and getting your mental illness. We need to throw a woman at this problem immediately. Victor knows that the creature has promised to be with him on his wedding night and still goes through with the wedding night. And what drives me insane about this is he's sort of aware, like I think at this point he's just kind of like, it's, he's just going to come and kill me, which makes no sense. This is your wedding night. Your wife is there. Your family is there.
He also wants you to suffer.
Yeah, he wants to take away everything good. He wants the light of day to make you hate. So Victor, of course, narcissist, arms himself with a pistol. He patrols and leaves his new bride alone.
What the fuck?
Everyone's fucking running upstairs. So he hears Elizabeth scream. He runs to her. And of course, she's been murdered by the creature in the most predictable part of the novel.
If only anyone could have seen this coming.
And so he's like, oh, you meant her. Oh, no. But
there's another person in my life.
Now I'm suffering again.
There's also, so we talked about the kind of sexy party language that he uses when he destroys the female character. This is the only part of the novel where he uses the word ardor, but he holds Elizabeth's corpse. And the way that it's written is very sexy party language again. He's been betrothed to her.
I think that they had fucked. I'm certain they have fucked already.
Sarah, you might be getting to this, but I think there's like an undercurrent here where like Victor shies away from women when they're alive and then doesn't.
That's a really good point. He has no time for her until she's dead.
Yeah, the scene where the creature is made way back at the beginning and reaches through the bed linens, he has a vivid hallucination dream about his mother. They're like living or whatever on the street walking. He kisses his mom, I assumed at the time platonically. And when the kiss is over, she's actually like a dead woman. Blue lips with the shroud of death around her with worms in the fold, something like that.
The folds, I remember that part. Ugh.
Yeah, it was really like creepily written in the good way, if that's what you go to this book for. So I don't know if you're getting to that, Sarah, but like you're like, well, maybe they did have sex. I'm like, I don't know, Tommy. I feel like he shied away from her on purpose, and now he's kind of into it.
There was some line where I was like, yeah, fucked.
See, I kind of got the like, yeah, I think I would probably be happier, I guess, if I had a wife, because that seems to be the thing. But sure, later, I'll do that later. And then every time there's like passionate shivering or the holding with ardor, it's when there's a corpse involved.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
No, there's a lot not to like. So Victor dedicates himself to revenge. There's not much else for him to do. So he just starts chasing the creature across Europe and into the Arctic. It kind of becomes an echo of this early obsession. So he goes into this obsessive stupor of revenge. When he's found by Walton on the ice, he's been chasing the creature across the Arctic with a dog sled. And so we are back to the letters at the very beginning. And he's told Walton this tale, and he urges Walton to pursue and kill the creature after his death. Which, to his credit, Walton's like, nah, B.
No.
I'm actually pretty busy.
Yeah. I'm going to the North Pole.
He gets shut in with ice and his crew mutinies and is like, fuck this, we're not going north. I think that the captain would have kept going, because he's like super friends now with Victor. But his entire crew was like, y'all, this is ended today and we're going home.
Yeah. There's actually an interesting moment where you think maybe that Victor is learning and telling Walton a cautionary tale. And then the crew says like, hey, we gotta go home.
Don't be crazy like that guy.
And Victor Frankenstein has this whole monologue where he's like, be men, pursue knowledge. And you're like, so you haven't learned anything. Like, it was Mary Shelley's way of being like, this guy is completely irredeemable.
Never learned a thing. It's crazy.
This guy, he's giving us nothing even at the very end.
Like, we know he's insane when the boat, he's okay, so he's been chasing him across the ice on a dog sled, right? Like the monster's ahead and all this. And the ice floe breaks up and he's stranded on a chunk of ice. And a boat comes, like, no one's ever gone this far north. At that point, no one had ever done it. Boat appears. You're like, holy shit, this is the luckiest day ever. And you're like, excuse me, sir, are you going north? Like, the guy's fucking insane.
And hasn't learned anything. Like, Mary Shelley's giving us, like, no redeemable qualities at all in Victor Frankenstein, and is actually, like, emphasizing to us that even at the end of his life, even right before he dies, bitch has learned nothing.
Yeah.
So he dies. And the creature appears. And so Walton does see the creature. He appears over Victor's body. He's grieving in a sense. And so there's also like another interesting point that she's making about parenthood, that even when you have this completely absent parental figure who's abandoned you, there's still a connection. There's still something that you want from that person. And potentially the grief is never having had that.
Well, but this mission of vengeance also was the only connection that the creature had, right? Like, he tried to connect with other humans. He couldn't. The only human that he did connect with was Frankenstein. And it was like in this terrible vengeance pact that they had together. But like, that was a connection. It was the only thing that either of them had going on for themselves.
The monster could have gotten away. The monster's like looking over his shoulder. Like, is he still chasing? Is he still chasing? Is he still chasing? Like, he's still got this weird, need for human connection, even if the connection is this person wants to kill me.
Because there's 0% chance that this 5'6" max dude, he's not going to win.
If he kills the monster wanted it.
Yeah.
Right. But the monster wants to be chased. He's like a puppy that needs love. And it's like literally like a picture dog, like looking over your shoulder. Like, is it still coming? Yeah, it's really sad.
Oh, it's it's heartbreaking. So the creature tells Walton that he did monstrous things, but that they didn't bring him peace. And then he leaves to destroy himself in the ice, disappearing into the darkness. And so we end with a little bit of ambiguity about what happens to the monster. The thread that we're getting is, creature suicide is how this ends. He has no more reason to live.
We're not sure. Mary Shelley also invented leaving a sequel an open possibility.
Ugh. What an icon. Like, just a creepy disappearing into the darkness. We don't know what happens.
And so next we're reading Frankenstein 2, Bride of Frankenstein.
Which is not a thing.
Oh, what?
Not endorsed by Shelley.
It's out there, but it's probably not hers.
Yeah, it's not her. No. No. Her next book is about incest. It's not Bride of Frankenstein.
There's another book?
Oh yeah, no, it's about incest.
So is this a little bit.
Oh my gosh. That's the end of Frankenstein. That's some Mary fucking Shelley for you. That is the first and best sci-fi novel and one of the greatest gothic horror novels I've ever read. And man, for the 1900s, it
slaps.
It slaps.
Yeah.
As much as you guys ragged on the letters at the front, I did love when he connected to the same characters at the end. I was like, that was a very nice way to give a little teaser up front. And then you're like, oh, they're at the end of the book.
I also love that all of these letters were written on a ship. There's no mail service from ships. He's just like, these might make it home. Obviously they do, I guess, because we have them, but
oh yeah, Margaret's not writing back.
It's
just a one-sided telephone call. Yeah. Mary Shelley also invents the one-sided telephone call.
She never writes back, and he's like, well, I'm in St. Petersburg. I'm going to go on a ship. I'm about to write you a really long, fully insane letter.
Oh, Margaret doesn't care.
Yeah, she's like, this guy needs to shut up.
I wanted to say something, because you guys brought up a good point at the beginning. You're like, is this the first science fiction novel, right? And there's other contenders. I actually think there's no better candidate than this book, because for anyone who's written a novel, I'm writing a novel, in a science fiction, you look at the inspiration of the tech of the day, right? And the science of the day, and you kind of bring yourself as an author to bear on that, but you get so much inspiration from your story. And if you look at everything in this novel, even chemistry back then, modern chemistry was developing. It's 20 years old, 25 years old, right? And the folks that were in chemistry had lofty ambitions about what chemistry could do to master nature. So you see that theme in this book. You see the chemistry in this book. But then you also see the electrolysis that, Tommy, you mentioned, right, coming in this book. And I don't know of a book that was so prolific and took off. I think in order to say that you're the person who created a category, you have to do all of that, but then your book has to resonate so deeply that it creates a template for something new. And I think Mary Shelley, she didn't even just create something that was gory, scary, but psychologically scary and creation womb, naturey scary. I can't point to another work that had such an influence, a confluence of all of these factors that are now the template for what makes a good sci-fi.
Yeah, I think saying that it works well as a template is a good example of why it's the great contender for the first sci-fi. Like you said, it can be used as a route for all of these other books that have grown up after it.
She's pointed out something about the human condition when it comes to creation and science that has maintained relevance. I was just reading, because I was like, didn't Sam Altman say that AI would destroy everything? Yeah, he did. He did. He said it's probably the greatest threat to the continued existence of humanity.
This is just a weird sales pitch. This is very much the Victor Frankenstein sales pitch of you should buy my thing. Why? It's so good it might destroy you.
But Mary Shelley in 1818 knew that Sam Altman was going to say that in 2026 because there's she understands something fundamental about the human condition.
Well, but Sarah, at the beginning of the podcast, you pointed out you could apply this to any number of different technological inventions, right? You could take any single one of them and apply this, like Andrew said, the same template and get a meaningful result out of it.
Honestly, Sarah, if you went and wrote a PhD thesis on the technology that was compared to Frankenstein over the last 200 years, I'd read the shit.
It's everything.
If you think of her time, all of the novel tech that comes out, and we think of the novel tech throughout history, I feel like it makes sense to me that the pattern would be repeating. And the reason why I think that is because at the advent of technology is when you are by necessity the most ignorant. We just don't know what we don't know.
Like the thing with tech today, I feel like is this vibe of like the person who's waiting around thinking if they should will not be the person that invents it. That does not mean somebody else won't. Like the person who's most willing to be cavalier will always be the person that does the inventing.
Oh, Tommy, I hate that. But I think Andrew wants to talk about all the cool words he learned, which is
go
fun.
for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
New words with Andrew.
Okay.
I love this segment.
Yeah, words with Andrew.
Words
words
with
with
Andrew.
Okay, so the one thing I love about old novels from the 1800s is I don't know about you guys, but I have to stop every chapter, twice a chapter, and go, what the hell does this word fucking mean?
Oh, yeah.
Andrew and I are polar opposites. I just let the new words wash over me and hope they'll make sense in context.
You'll get it by I can't do that. I'm like, okay. Some of them I kind of got from context, but these are the words that, like, when I was reading, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I love this word. So I made a list and I started texting. I texted screenshots of my list as it grew to the Pagenerds. And so I just want to read a few of these words to everyone. First one, syndic. It's like a syndicate, like government official. Cabriole. You know when the person jumps and clicks their heels? Like jumps and clicks?
No,
and that's a cabriole?
cabriolet?
Yeah.
Cabriole?
Yeah,
Obsessed.
cabriole.
I love that. We got to use that more.
Yeah, it's great. The next one I really like, ribands, but it's describing something that's ribbon-like, but not necessarily made from fabric.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ew, I know what that means in this novel.
It was describing a tree when he was the creature was like
That's way better than what I was thinking. I thought it was a meat thing again.
it could have been. So I won't give any more definitions because we don't have that much time, but I'm just going to run through the rest of them. Ignominious, exculpate, obdurate, disquisitions, which I really like that word. I think you can kind of figure out what it means by just the root words. Sagacity, exordium, variegated. So you should read these old books because you just run into these fantastic words, these $100 words,
Some of those are $1,000 words, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on this very dark, gothic, creepy, and at times upsetting journey of Mary fucking Shelley's Frankenstein. Pagenerd is Rick Vieweg, Andrew Corway, Tommy Guy, myself, Sarah Stockdale, and we are produced by Jay Cockburn. Next episode, we're going to be discussing the first of the Murderbot novellas, All Systems Read by Martha Wells. I will not actually be there because I'm going to France to eat cheese, but the guys will be here and it'll be a lot of fun. Happy reading.
And don't forget, it could be the frog, or it could be the juice.
That's a good one.
That's you, Tommy.
That's good.